There has been many concern about the care workers visa scam that is currently ongoing in the United Kingdom. So many persons have fallen victim of this care workers scam, and some major news media has also published some of these sad and unethical reports about the care workers visa scam. The current report that is currently ongoing in the news was reported by the Guardian online newspaper as regard the care workers visas. It says UK care firm charge workers from Africa thousands more than cost of visas. This is one of many care worker visa scams that were reported here in the UK. Sometime last year, BBC came up with a report tagged Gangmaster Exploits on Care Worker and Visa. Some other news media like Sky News has also report about how migrants coming from Africa were being scammed in the health and care workers visa route. We've said more about all of this, but unfortunately, some persons will come up and say it's the YouTubers, they are the one that are circulating false rumors about some of these things. So many persons have fell victim of this health and care workers visa scam. Imagine you coming to the UK with the presumption that you are going to be working 35 hours a week, but on arriving in the UK, it will be difficult for you to even get 20 hours a week to work. What will 20 hours a week do for you? Can that be able to sustain you, owing to the fact that the cost of living in the UK has increased exponentially, your rent and other bills that you have to pay? What will 20 hours a week amount to? So these are some of the reasons we are putting up this out so that migrants who intend coming into the UK can learn from the mistake some persons has made. I'll be reading through the Guardian report so we can learn as regard the scam in the health and care workers visa route. A care company serving NHS patients has been charging migrant workers from Africa thousands of pounds to work in the UK. When the cost of a visa is only a few thousand pounds, the Guardian has learned. Care workers from Zimbabwe were told to pay the sums to Gloriavd Health Care Limited in return for arranging social care job in and around Leeds and Bath. They also claimed they were given far less paid work than they had been led to expect, were housed in overcrowded rooms, and faced a threat that their conduct could be reported to the Home Office, leading them to fear deportation if they complain. One woman alleged she sold her home in rural South Africa to pay 6,500 in fees to the company operated by Gloria Van Dunham, only to find she and her colleagues had so little work they had to rely on food bank. Guys, this is the experience of just some few individuals, and I can tell you for a fact, thousands of persons are also in this same predicament. They came into the UK with a false promise that they will be working full time of 35 hours per week, but on arriving here, to get 20 hours a week is something they struggle for. This is not fair on the part of those who are coming into the UK with the intent of coming here to work genuinely, right? I'm not against those who want to pay huge amount of money to procure the care worker visa, but those who collected the money should be able to give them what they promised them and the reason why they paid such an amount of money. Imagine somebody selling up his house just to make sure he can be able to raise such an amount of money to procure the care worker visa. But on arriving here, they are being made to live like a slave. This will also serve as sensitization to those who intend coming to the UK through the health and care workers and visa route. Don't just bank on word of mouth, right? From some of these persons that will give you first promise that as soon as you arrive in the UK, there's so much for you to do. There's job readily awaits you to come and do here in the UK. That is the promise they give to so many persons that came into the UK and getting here. The promise they give to them with what is on ground, it's quite different. Imagine somebody coming into the UK and start living like a refugee. So many persons were lured into believing that the moment they arrive in the UK, they will get a place to work. Upon arriving here, the situation will be different. The only option they have is to resort in living like a refugee, hoping on food bank from church and other charity for them to be able to live. Sometime last year, a lady also put up a report about how some employers are enslaving migrants. Imagine she was lured to come and work here in the UK on the health and care visa route after she has paid about £8,000 to secure the certificate of sponsorship. On arriving in the UK, the employer did not have any single place for her to work. After being at home for quite a number of months, she started complaining that she could no longer sustain herself because all the funds she came in with has been used for other expenses. The employer now resorted in organizing training for them once a month and giving them £50. That is to say, in every month, they are sure of getting £15 from the employer. What will £15 do for somebody that is living here in the UK? You've rented an apartment, you need to pay your rent, you need to pay all utilities, all bills that's accrued, so you need to feed. So most of these persons, they rely on food bank from church and other charities. So but this very lady could no longer bear it because the employer is also threatening her with deportation, that if she speaks, they will revoke the certificate of sponsorship that was issued to her to make a visa application and she'll be deported. Right? So, but at that point, she has no other alternative. Is it that she's being deported or she remained in silence and died here in the UK? So let's read further to get more details about this same scare worker visa scam as reported by The Guardian. Mushanigan told The Guardian she was recruited directly from Africa by Gloriavd and understood the fee would covered the cost of the visa and certificate of sponsorship, as well as 2 months accommodation and access to full-time job. The Guardian has seen evidence of bank transfer on her behalf to the company bank account totaling 5,500. But on arrival in Britain last April, Mushaniga alleged she had to leave squashed fall to a room with mattresses on the floor, earned just £20 a day, and ended up feeding herself from a church food bank. This is just one among thousands of persons that are currently going through the same predicament. The truth of the matter is, collecting money from these persons sometimes might not be the issue, but why don't you make provision for them to be able to work as promised? This is breach of trust and breach of promise, and I'm very sure now that this have gone to the press, the Home Office will take decisive action over that care company. And so many care companies are also capable of this same kind of scam, promising people, making them to pay an amount, you getting the money, on arriving here, you change whatever you've told them. It's a breach of trust because the offer letter you give to these persons carries full-time working hour. And there's no way you can be able to sponsor a skilled worker under the health and care worker visa on a part-time basis. It must be on a full-time basis. Most of these employers know what they are doing. But another thing that we need to look out for those who are desperately in need of getting certificate of sponsorship, even when they've been told that there's no work for you to do. I've seen some person that said they don't mind. What they need is getting the certificate of sponsorship. You might get the certificate of sponsorship and look for one way or the other to survive while living here in the UK without getting a full-time work hour from the employer that sponsor you. Unknowing to you, you are only causing problem for yourself on the long run, because it will definitely come back to you when you are applying for indefinite leave to remain. One of the conditions of a skilled worker visa, right, as a sponsored migrant or sponsored employee, is that you must work for the employer that sponsor you on a full-time role, not on a part-time role, because they cannot sponsor on a part-time role. By the time you want to apply for indefinite leave to remain after you've lived here for 5 years, all of this will now come to play. You will now give account of your stewardship while working with your sponsored employer over the period you've lived here in the UK. So you are only trying to create problem for yourself on the long run. At the point of making indefinite leave to remain application, so many things will be considered. That is why those who are not eligible for public funds should not access public funds for any reason. If by mistake you've been paid public funds and you know very well you are not eligible to receive such an amount, you have to return it. Keeping it, you are not doing yourself good. You, at the end of the day, it will still fall back on you. So if you are not working for your employer on a full-time role as a skilled worker that is sponsored by the said employer, you are not doing yourself good. If you, for any reason, you've received public funds while your visa states categorically clear that you are not entitled to public funds, you are not doing yourself good. Some of these things will come and haunt you at the point of making your indefinite leave to remain application. So, guys, the scam that's currently ongoing in the health and care workers visa route, it's so much. It's something that is currently on the public domain. So, if you are a migrant planning to come to the UK through that route, you need to do due diligence. Don't just rely on the word of mouth from most of those agents, middlemen, those who are into care worker visa procurement. Let them put something in writing so you can use to hold them before you part ways with your money. Because sometimes once money has exchanged hand, it's difficult for you to retrieve such an amount back from those persons.